Over the weekend, a potential path forward to end the longest-running government shutdown emerged. 8 Senate Democrats, none of whom are up for re-election next year, broke ranks to agree to a deal with Republicans to reopen the government. The deal does not include a guarantee on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, sparking some frustration within the party. Independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders spoke with our Caitlin Huey-Burns.
I am disappointed that 8 people made a very profound decision for the entire caucus, which has 47 members in it. I think the American people understand, and that's what Tuesday's election was about, that you have Donald Trump, a Republican in the White House, you have Republican leadership in the House, Republican leadership in the Senate. And they, I think appropriately and understandably, are holding Republicans accountable for the shutdown. Because for the first time in modern history, Republicans refused to negotiate. Here is the demand. You tell me if it's a radical demand. Extend the Affordable Care Act for another year, the tax credits, so that people don't see a doubling in their premiums. And during that period of time, let's have a debate about the future of health care in America. I think that is a very modest proposal, which the overwhelming majority of American people support.
Joining me now are CBS News political contributor Joel Payne and Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha. A big welcome to both of you. So, Chuck, 41 days of holding out to try to make a deal on the Affordable Care Act. Do you think this deal makes the Democratic Party, how do you think it makes them look?
Well, it all depends who you're talking to. It's definitely made the base very angry. That's why the 8 Democrats that voted for this are not up for election in a year. They're not up for election in 2 years. They're not up for election for a long time. A lot of them are retiring. So this was the only group that could do it, because if there was going to be punishment on these particular Democrats, you're not going to be able to do it in the next election. Does this shutdown affect the midterms? And shutdowns have never really affected elections, but I'll tell you this. We knocked on 100,000 doors in New Jersey during the New Jersey governor's election to Latino households. And top 2 issues we heard at the door. So the issue is very celebration right now.
You know, we're hearing a soundbite there. We'll try and get our tech gremlins sorted out. But earlier, our Major Garrett interviewed Democratic Congressman Rocha on the takeout. I want to get both of your reactions. Let's listen.
Look, I've worked with Senator Schumer. He did an incredible job on the CHIPS Act, on the IRA, on infrastructure, but it's time for him to be replaced. He is not meeting the moment. He's out of touch with where the party's base is.
So, Joel, do you agree?
So, Lindsay, I used to work in Senate leadership. I actually worked for Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. And one of the rules that you always know when you work in leadership is it is on you to demonstrate to your caucus and to the broader coalition that you earn their trust and that you have a plan and a strategy to get the legislative agenda done that your caucus wants to get done. And I think the thing I can say about Chuck Schumer is it's pretty clear he's created a permission structure for Democrats both in Congress and also rank and file Democrats in the grassroots to question whether or not he's the right leader. I think each individual organization, each individual office holder will have to make decisions for themselves. But I would just say, if you did a poll of grassroots Democrats right now, I don't think Chuck Schumer's standing would be very high. And unfortunately, I just think that he has created that permission structure for himself.
Chuck, I'll let you weigh in on that. And do you think that there are any lessons to be learned from this shutdown?
Well, you drew a line in the sand, and then you didn't walk up to that line. I think that there's winners and losers. You say, well, we didn't do this for 22 million people are going to have their health care premiums maybe double, but also poor kids that were on SNAP and food stamps will now get those. We'll keep airplanes in the air. This is not a no-win situation, but there's one thing Joel said that's for sure. And the Democratic base that showed up in big numbers on Tuesday is very upset about this. We're fighting a narrative right now against the Republicans that Democrats always cave, and that's not a good narrative walking into the midterm elections.
So, Joel, when we're thinking about coming off of this, I mean, Chuck's saying that government shutdowns don't really motivate people. I mean, I think for a lot of people, top of mind is still the issue of affordability. Here we have these ACA tax credits that are coming up. And what is your advice to the party on how they should use this moment to push them into the midterms?
One word that jumps to mind for me, trust. Democrats are in a crisis of trust right now with the base of their party. If you look at all the public opinion polls that show that Democrats are not as popular as Republicans or Donald Trump or just generally are low in popularity, it's because of a lack of trust from rank and file Democrats, traditional Democratic constituencies that make up their base. They have to solve that crisis of trust. They started to do some of that work when they showed a fight around the shutdown. They withered away a lot of that trust with what happened over the weekend. And without that trust, it's very hard to keep that coalition together because you're not going to be able to convince folks that you understand the moment, you understand the fight, and that you're willing to fight. Rank and file grassroots Democrats right now need fighters. They want fighters on Capitol Hill. And I would just say the results have been at best mixed and at worst subpar for what rank and file based grassroots Democrats are looking for.
Joel Payne and Rocha will have to leave it there. Thank you both so much.